So I want to show you some places where having a path with a stroke is going to be much more effective than using the blob brush tool. I'm speaking specifically of these tentacles down here. So let me check my layers here. I'm going to draw out my tentacle. Pressing F7 should be bringing up my layers. And I've got to lock my reference layer. I forgot to lock it back, and that caused some problems earlier. So I am going to call this tentacle 1. There are 4 of them, and we want to animate them separately. So I'm going to use the Z zoom tool just to quickly get in right here on that one tentacle. And the way I'm going to do this is simply draw a line from one end to the other. Now the reason I can do it that way is because of the curvature tool. I can just click in the middle of this or somewhere along in there and bend this line to go where I want it to. I can even add another point to make little adjustments. I can take this point, notice I've got it up under the body. That's because when I make it a lot thicker, I don't want these corners showing when I move it around. So what do we want to do? Well, this is not a very good tentacle yet because we need to change that to the width profile 4. We've used this before, and it will bring that down to a sharp point. Now, in the original design, we have 2 colors. One is red and the other is pink. And I did experiment with having 2 separate shapes kind of overlapping and realized there's a much better way to do this. Now, if I look at my stroke right now, it's black. And I'm going to change that to a gradient. Now my gradient here is white to black by default. I do have my colors. I did move them over here to the left because I kept having to move panels out of the way. So I'm going to click on one of these color stops, use my eyedropper tool to choose red, click on the other one and choose the pink. Now this is a linear gradient, but it is going from one end of the path to the other. Not much use. Not for this. That's why we need to know about the apply the gradient across the stroke. So instead of going from one end to the other, it's going to go across. Check this out. Now we've got it going from pink on one side to red on the other. Now this is not a smooth gradient in our original design, so I wanted to recreate that by just bringing these color stops much closer together. So there's very little space for the gradient. And in fact, we can bring those so close together that they flip, which they need to because red is on this side and pink is on the other. So you can see how it switches back and forth. And then I can make some final adjustments. Don't be afraid to be a little bit different. If you think your tentacles would be better off being a little longer, then by all means go ahead and do that. So we've got this right here. Now it is possible and useful many times to outline the stroke. If you have a stroke that's got a specific shape and you want to make that into an actual shape, there is a tool, Object, Path, and you can outline the stroke. The problem here is that it's a gradient. So in order to do that, each of these little segments of the mesh is a solid color. So there's actually a whole bunch of them right here in that middle area where it's going from red to pink very, very quickly. So this isn't so useful to make adjustments to these paths. These are individual anchor points that if we click, let go, and then select, you can see trying to make changes might be very, very difficult, and that's what we were after. So I'm going to leave this as a single path that's got a gradient across it. Now we've also got another thing here, the tail. It's kind of a bulbous tail, and I'm going to use another width profile tool here to make that shape.